Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. Finally, senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. And remember, no matter who you are valid. And if you are a bigot, well, that's time for self reflection. There have been things happening. I had therapy today, which, that's good. There were things that we talked about that hopefully some of it I wrote down. We shall see. But not a lot else has happened except for a few things, like after going through the trouble with the chair, I get an email saying, oh, that chair you wanted, it's going to be weeks. Not days, weeks. So you can cancel, you can try and order something else. We'll send you some options. And it says, I went cancel. Let's just cancel. And so the order's been canceled. I'm waiting for the refund to process. So hopefully the refund is going to process. But we shall see. That's where we are right now. So I'm in this awful chair here. Life is life. So, but as soon as I find out, or the refund gets processed, so I don't have to call them up and tell them what, Amazon, tell them what was going on and say, hey, so hopefully that gets processed quickly, then I can order another chair. Oh, life. Oh, well, it could be worse. But yes, had therapy today. It is bright and sunny outside, pretty warm. So I'm warm now since my AC unit's off. I had it on all night to sleep. It's that time of year. So heading out for walkies later, hopefully, if I feel good enough, take my tablet out, and if feeling good after that, do some recording. There was some stuff I did want to take pictures of or video of, like a type of flower. Looks like a lupin, but except they're angled downward, the flowers, and not upward. And so I don't know what they are. They're not snapdragons, they're not bluebells or anything like that. They look like lupins, except the flowers are angled in the wrong direction. So want to get some video of that. Just take it along the paths that I usually walk along. See if there's any new mouse highways that are able to be recorded. There are people that keep, in the fields that I go through, now there's someone, well, not just someone, many people that if they can drive their vehicles over the areas that they're not supposed to, the ground is piled up. You can drive on the roads if the roads lead in there, and there are a few, but there's gates and blocks, and they have concrete blocks, and they have mounded earth, but people with the kind of vehicles, they drive over that, and then they go like off-roading in the fields, which tears up the fields, and I just feel so bad for all the critters that have to live out there and deal with that. So that's fun, but hopefully there's some good mouse highways, which again, I just call them mouse highways, but I don't know what kind of animal makes them. They have to be animals that live in colonies, because there's a lot of paths and it takes a lot of critters to stomp those down, especially if you're a tiny critter. It takes a lot of little feet to do that. So it'd be cool if I can find some ones that are being done. Stuff's starting to get crackly out there, so it gets harder to see stuff like that. Everything blends in a crackly kind of, straw-like color. So joy on that. But we shall see what happens. It'd be nice if in this one drainage field that I walked by, it had water mint growing in it again. Because number one, I'd be able to smell that, and mint is a nice smell. And number two, it'd be nice to take video of that. I am wheezing pretty good here. Gotta love that. Anyway, though, so those are my plans, at least for after I get done with this. I needed decompression time. It is 1:39. therapy, talked about stuff, this, that, and the other. So what did I have anything written up there? Yes, one of the big things was my current situation. Again, it's been 2 weeks since I've talked with my therapist, so I gave him a big fill-in on the tinnitus, the occasional feeling weird, the low-grade headache, not all the time, that even when my blood pressure is low, and with my blood pressure being so erratic, and then how I used to, when Ritalin, live in a golden city where I could think, but then I had to move down to a tin shack. But then things happened with meds that I ended up even down lower in like a landfill, where I was looking up at the tin shack and going, gosh, I remember living there, and not even being able to see the glow of the golden city anymore. With what's happened here, I'm looking up at the landfill and going, I hope I can think like that again. Because while I do have periods of better concentration, and I do have periods of being able to remember things, and these are both above and beyond what I would have had before I started taking guanfacine twice a day. Don't know why my voice faltered there. But before I started taking guanfacine twice a day. So my brain here, my apologies. So it is harder for me to do anything at all with my brain than I was even a month ago. And Lord knows a month ago it wasn't good. But mind is a function of brain. So you alter the brain, you alter the mind. Something happened less than a month ago, about 3 weeks now this has been going on. Something happened. It may be something that is not reversible, or not reversible with meds, or we may never be able to find out what happened. And then we just got to try and deal with it after that. But I may just have to live with the fact that I may never be up in that landfill again. And of course, always as I talk with my therapist, my fears of dementia are strong, but I think probably more age appropriate, because only 15% of adults in at least the United States suffer from dementia as they get older, to the point that they need help anyway. Only 15%, a big number, but comparatively, that's still 85% of people who don't. Problem is, you don't know if you're in that 15% until it happens enough that people notice that you are. Now, the things that have happened with me have been quick, abrupt, and dementia doesn't work like that. So, hopefully, as stated, it's just minor and not hideous. But that's just one of the things I wanted to talk about. One of the other things was just talking about this one. No Man's Sky has become a forever game. Did I mention this, where it's now with yesterday, where No Man's Sky is truly a forever game with everything in it? Just, yeah, I did sort of, but it is. So, yeah, now I don't have anything to talk about on that one, so I'm going to talk about this point instead. I have really been getting back into playing Might and Magic 6. And again, the dungeons are insanely huge. With my memory, I forget everything, and it's been over 15 years since I've last played. So my memories of it are only very broad swaths. But these dungeons are ridiculously huge. I finally cleared out the abandoned temple of Ba in just outside the city limits of New Sorpagal. But it was insanely huge. Literally, starting from the door and walking to the furthest part of it, you're probably moving your characters along. I say probably because I don't know if it's 2 minutes, because it feels like 2 minutes, but I know it is well over 60 to get to the end. It is insanely huge. And then there's another dungeon that you go through where there's a castle on a hill. Now, this unfortunately suffered from early 2000s logic puzzles, where early 2000s logic puzzles in this case are a throwback to early 90s and 80s puzzles. You needed to figure out this combination on a panel of however many keys it is. It went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. All of those keys, you had to press the proper number of them on there. But the only way to figure out which of them you had to do was the clues like button number 8 closes door 5 and opens door 6. The next one, this button closes door 6 and opens door 3. So you had to figure out what combination to do of those to open up at least 4 doors. So thank God there's an internet. I just looked it up because I wasn't going to be able to do it. The dungeon underneath the castle is insanely huge. Again, you're at least 30-40 seconds starting from the door to get to the end. They did it because they could, because before that, for role-playing games on the PC, you had to fight for every, not just bite, but every bit in each bite. If you didn't have to put a room in a game, if you could combine 2 rooms to save space, you did that. Because memory and storage space was that crucial. And then when it opened up for them at like Might and Magic 6, well then, they had memory and space to burn. And so they did. It's fun. It's great. You should play. I'm saying they're insanely huge and kind of complaining while enjoying every bit of it. But that's really it up there, aside from my talking about it. I really should stick with each game until I finish it, but if I do that, I'll never finish anything, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about the game Crypt of Chaos, which of course I went and put away because I went and showed it off, but I did play a couple rounds of it. It is fun, and it is a different way of playing. Because you draw a card, as stated, and you put it down to go into the labyrinth. There are a certain number of cards that have exits. Your card you draw has a certain number of entrances and then exits, and you have to line them up wherever you want. On that card will either be a little note that has a treasure of a certain color up in the corner, and if there's a monster there, well, you got to fight the monster before you can get the treasure. Now, the treasure comes in 3 colors of types. There's a purple, a green, and a yellow. You just have to flip over a card to see what that treasure is. It might be a trap, but it might be really good, so it's worth it. But fighting the monsters is interesting because you start off with, I think it was 21 hit points. Oh, no, my character, I was playing the orc, only had 18 hit points. And then when you draw a monster, it shows up with X number of hit points. And then to fight, you draw a card. And it might say miss, in which case you miss. And then the monster draws a card. It might say miss, and that's good. But it'll have a number on it. You have your strength. You add the number that you drew to your strength, and that's the amount of damage that the monster took. If the monster has armor, you subtract that, and then the remainder you apply to their hit points. And then the same, when they come up with a number, you add their strength to that number, that's how much damage you take. And if you have any defense or armor, you subtract that and then apply it to your hit points. And then you go back and forth until the other, one or the other is dead. And if you have anything to increase your hit points with treasures or healing potions, then you can just take those, heal up, and then you keep going, because you're trying to find all of the artifacts and then the sword so you can defeat the dragon. So it played pretty good, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. It is fun. Hopefully I can play it for the channel. And if I did talk about this before, because all my damaged mind, then my sincere apologies. Checking the time up there, the last thing I want to talk about is I do have a set of characters that I have actually been thinking about a lot of late. And this is a cryptid character who I thought the story was going to be about. Her name is Nell, and she is a dark cryptid, and it is within her nature to be able to devour human beings at will. Now, there are some years that she will only eat a small handful of human beings, and there are some years where it's a heaping handful, where you got to hold it up against your body so you're not spilling it all. But she becomes fascinated with this one doctor, Dr. Mark O'Donnell, works as a dentist slash denturist, because he has the mutation where he can see a certain frequency of cryptid world material stuff, energy. He's able to see a certain, like looking through a slit of a vast stretch of fence, and then only being able to see that tiny bit of what's behind the fence. But what wanders into that behind the fence area, he can see and interact with without having a cryptid presence. So he is confounding to Nell, because he shouldn't be able to interact with the cryptid world, and yet he does, but only in this tiny, tiny sliver. But she becomes interested in him and does something that cryptids of her type normally can't. She's an urban cryptid, but she actually works through the system and becomes a certified denturist assistant and applies and works with him. And eventually the story became less about her in my head as I was developing who these people were, and more about Dr. Mark O'Donnell, because she's fascinated by him. But she's just a cryptid. She's fascinated because he doesn't act like a normal human does. Because he knew that she was one of those types that's out there that he's interacted with in that small sliver since he's been a kid. So he's not freaked out about it. He knows these people are out there. He wanders across her, and then a year and some later, she comes applying for a job. And she gets that job, and he knows who she is. And she tells him at the application, yeah, she eats people. She devours human beings. And he's like, oh, were you going to eat my family or friends? She's like, no. He's like, oh, okay. And accepts it. And that's it. Now, he's not worried about it. He's not freaked out about it. And that's something she's thinking about. Especially when a couple of months into this, he just asks her if, no, were you planning on eating me? And when she says no, he goes, oh, okay, thank you. And then back to what he was doing. And it's like, that is like, doctor, we need to talk about this. And it's an exploration through her of him, because he's like a normal person who has their third eye opened within my cryptid setting, whom are no longer able to effectively deal with the normal world and now have to deal with the cryptid world as their new reality. So thumbs up. Anyway, though, 20 minutes into this, hokey smokes, I bet only 3 people are watching this, if even that many. Call for action time. If you could like, comment, share, and subscribe, that'd be very, very cool and greatly appreciated. If you're a Patreon patron, thumbs up and thank you. It is appreciated so very, very much. I have to do things like live, and I am disabled and one step up from homeless. Your help appreciated is what I was going to say. I can English. Your help is greatly appreciated. Thumbs up and thank you. And if you've left me a comment, thumbs up and thank you as well. You too are beautiful and awesome in your own way. I read every comment that YouTube shows me. I thumbs up, and occasionally when I remember, I heart comments, especially if YouTube won't let me thumbs up them. And I try to answer as many comments as I can, as many as my nerve compression will allow, which is not as many as I would like, but it's better than none. So if you really want an answer, please check back up to 24 hours later. And even if you aren't expecting an answer, up to 24 hours later, I can still answer. So thumbs up on that. So I'm going to edit, render, upload. I'm going to go for walkies. I'm going to take care of myself as best I can. I'm going to try and eat good food. I mean, I eat good food. Problem is, on top of it, as best as I can in the processed forms that I have to eat them in. Problem is, on top of that, I still haven't been able to not eat stuff that's bad for me. I've been able to stop eating candy. I don't eat baked goods, largely, but right now shortbread cookies, a baked good, are my bane. I can't lose weight eating shortbread cookies, but shortbread cookies, especially when they have lemon frosting on them. Oh. Anyway, hopefully you can get done the things that you would like to get done. And if not, please do not beat yourself up. You deserve better. Oh, Shoko My Ducko. Yes, I was going to say this. Of course, there is an internet game of Marco Polo I play with where I call out a secret word. And the last people that type the secret word into the comment section as I ask for blatant engagement farming, and 2, to call back that secret word is Polo, Jesse Koskinen. Thumbs up and thank you. And I sincerely hope that switch too is good. I've heard so much bad that I want it to be good. There is Toxic PC, DAS, and J7G. Thumbs up, thank you, greatly appreciated. And we have Calicoy. It's been a while since I've seen you in the comments. Good to see you there. Thumbs up and thank you. We have Gus Garrett, 6838, greatly appreciated. E5K8Z, thumbs up, Chris, thumbs up. I am on the net, greatly appreciated. Thumbs up and good to see you. Jack-05Z2J, greatly appreciated. Thumbs up and thank you. I don't really have anything other than OSR. If you could type OSR into the comments for blatant engagement farming and to call back, that would be very, very cool and greatly appreciated. So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is indeed a very, very good thing. I do have a functioning brain, just doesn't function very well. I mean, it functions fine,